Welcome back to the Sound for More channel. It's Leo speaking. Today I have the pleasure to kick off a new series of tutorials on Corona from discoDSP. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe as it helps with growing the channel. Thank you very much. Okay, as you can see, I have Corona opened inside Ableton Live on a MacBook Pro M1 chip. And I have just a standard preset which is loaded, as you can see from the factory bank down here. The program or preset is Pad Trans JP, which sounds like this. Okay, so today we are going to commence the journey on learning how to use and program presets inside Corona, starting from the oscillators. And the first thing that I recommend you do is you go to bank, choose user, and so that you have a default program, which will sound like this. The next thing I recommend is that you decide the performance mode if you want to perform in poly, mono, or legato. Of course, if you want to perform in poly, you have multiple notes which can be played at the same time. If you want to perform in mono, you will have only one voice, which will be running or played at one time, and previous, of course, notes will not be played. And then you have legato mode, and legato mode is really a monophonic mode where the envelopes are not restarted when keys are played, which means that it will give you a less sense of a staccato, or because those envelopes will not restart, and therefore you have a better feeling in terms of notes being linked, and therefore the legato effect. The other thing you see here is poly 2, legato 2, and mono 2, and that is in relation to portamento, which means that the portamento is only active when there is a key which is down. The next thing I recommend you do is also that you look at number of voices, and by default is 16, but you can change that up to 32. Okay, so let's start with a view on oscillators, which you can find up here. At the moment, as you can see, you have 3 oscillators, 1, 2, 3. Each one of them has set a sawtooth as a timbre or waveform. So sawtooth, which is actually good for rough bass, edge leads, etc. Of course, if you click here on the down arrow, you can change the type of timbre. You can go to, for example, a parabolic type, which is great for smooth sounds, pads as well. Of course, at the moment you are listening just to the standard timbre or waveform, so I have not acted on filters, on the envelope, etc., etc. So that is just the raw basic waveform. Of course, we have others as well. You have triangle as well, which is good again for smooth sounds, bass, flutes, that's those type of timbres that you can create. And it's that characteristic of the triangle waveform that almost points to flute type of sound or timbre. Really nice, very, very clear. Next we have sine, and this you can use these for timbres like leads, percussion, organs as well, of course, depending on how you program them. But you immediately hear in a harmonic fashion when you have multiple notes, it starts almost like to point more to an organs type of sound. Okay, next you have a square, which is, well, if you use square, you can create some very nice bass sound, also some leads as well, if you want to. And of course, you have noise as well. Now, you have the ability to select additional waveforms, and this is where it gets really interesting. And of course, you can also place SF2 or WAV files as well inside Corona, and therefore you can extend the ability of what you can play as waveforms. Again, here there is a huge selection. Let's change again. Really nice. You can see straight away how you can create bass sounds. Let's go for some classic. Really nice. And let's go to guitar. Let's try an acoustic guitar. Great sound, great sound. Let's try a few more. For example, a sax. Great sound. Why not? Let's try something different, an English horn. Great. Some pads. Always good to try some pads. Let's try different ones. At the moment, remember, I'm just using one oscillator and the sound is already great just with one of them. Of course, I can use something like strings. This is really nice, a pizzicato bass. I can have voices. Again, great. Now, I can combine different oscillators. So I could go, for example, to oscillator 2, and let's just say I load a guitar as a timbre. That's what I would prefer to have, and that's the waveform I have loaded. And here, where it says combine mode, and you can change that, and you can say, well, I added the two together. Now, as soon as you've done that, and of course you have a lot of different options. You can add, you can subtract, you can multiply, you can do AND, OR, XOR, lot of different possibilities, including hard sync, ring modulation, etc. But as soon as you have done that, between oscillator 1 and 2, you can also adjust the phase, the semitones, fine-tuning, and the levels as well of, in this case, level 2 for oscillator 2. You can hear that the acoustic guitar is decreasing or increasing its level. Now let's go to the third oscillator. Why not? Let's load that English horn. And let's change the combine mode to add as well, which will means it will take the combination of oscillator 1 and 2 and add it to oscillator 3. Of course, the great opportunity is to, for example, act, even if you have the same waveform, to actually act on the different combination modes. So I could go for subtraction here and again sub here, but then I change the semitone. A great thing as well of Corona is that you can set the leakage as well. And also you can set the drift here, which will give you that sense of an unstable device, which is typical, of course, of analog synths. Now, this sounds great already, and of course you have other options like randomization of phase here, which you can activate. And of course you can also randomize the selection of the waveform and also the tone itself, right? So you could just click in here and change it. I'll show you that in a second. But the great thing is that at the moment I'm just only using the free oscillators, and but I could, for example, act on Unison, and you can go to 2 voices, 3 voices, 4 voices, or even Super 7. Okay, and of course you have, let's say, 4 voices. You can detune them between the all of them. You can also add additional ones clicking on the octave. And of course you can act also on the pan spread. The octave button really allows you to add 1 or 2 sound octave transposed based on the number of unison voices that you have active. So it's a great addition. And this is just a note. So it's already rich and powerful. Now let's randomize the tone. Let's click here. Really nice. Let's try again. Great. Let's try again. Fantastic. Of course, you can randomize the wave as well. And the beauty, of course, is you can use the back arrow here or the left arrow to go to the previous one. So it makes it really a nice touch in terms of moving to the next randomized wave, but also to be able to go back to the previous one. Let's try again to randomize the tone. And you can see that the tone randomization acts on the semitone, the fine adjustment levels, the phase, and the tuning here as well. So remember, these knobs here act on phase, but also act on the tuning as well. And here you have different combination as well. So when you go on the tuning mode, you have a hard sync, you have a ring modulation, which is analog ring modulation, you have phase modulation, and also an alternative phase modulation here. Okay. So you can have a lot of fun, really. And Corona allows you to create a very complicated and very unique texture, really. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I hope you enjoyed this first tutorial, and as always, see you next time. Bye.